get on there either. I know who's here.
Yeah, at this point,
Okay.
that makes sense. Okay, Shannon, if you could put us back on.
Oops. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Weed, you may continue.
Yes, Your Honor. Have you ever denied the father here, Justin, parenting time with Lila?
No, I mean, there have been weekends where we might have, typically he waits till the last minute to notify us that he wants to exercise parenting time with her. So we may have made plans like for a family outing. So I may ask him if there's a way to like rearrange it so we can still see her, but we can have her for that. But I've never denied him time with her.
So Lila, does she ever travel out of the state?
Yeah, her dad lives in Ohio, so she goes to Ohio to see him, and then she also goes to Georgia to see her grandmother.
Is this so she goes where to visit her grandmother?
Georgia.
Has any of this travel ever taken her out of school?
Yeah, there's been instances. Most of the instances are if Justin can't meet after school to get her, he would ask to either get her Thursday night or Friday during school. And since the time that he is with her is so like small, typically we would oblige if we could. And then as far as going to Georgia, usually she'll miss a day or two of school because the drive is so long. So his mom will come up and pick her up and then drive her back down.
So just to clarify, she does miss some school because of travel to Ohio?
Yes.
And also travel to Georgia?
Correct.
Is there any other reasons why she's missed school?
She's very prone to strep throat. When she was in public school, she was getting strep throat at least once or twice a month. I mean, very consistently, and she became resistant to antibiotics because of it. It was really hard to get her in because we weren't able to get the insurance card from Justin because based on our last custody agreement, he is required to carry her on his insurance. So I can't get Medicaid for her or my insurance. It's just been a mess. And so she would miss school a lot for strep throat, random fevers. And they wanted to do a tonsillectomy, but again, I didn't get his insurance card until like January, I think, of this year, of 2021.
And has this pandemic, has it affected your ability to schedule a tonsillectomy as well?
It's affected scheduling any doctor's appointments. They weren't doing any surgeries that weren't emergency surgeries last year. And then now that I've got her insurance card, trying to find a doctor who will take the out-of-state insurance has just been kind of a mess.
Now, does Justin ever come to Michigan to pick up Lila?
When he lived in Michigan, obviously he would come here, and then rarely. He doesn't, I mean, yeah, not often.
When he showed up to pick her up, who was driving?
Sometimes he drives, typically his girlfriends or so Jennifer, Sabra, Danny drives sometimes. Right now, typically it's his father-in-law that comes, Danny's dad.
Would you say that most of the time is Justin driving?
No, not most of the time. So.
Do you have any concerns with did you at the time have any concerns with his girlfriends?
Yes. The girl that he was with shortly after we split up, Jennifer, she was a stripper, which, I mean, whatever makes you happy, but she wasn't shy about flaunting it, which made me
Your Honor, I'm going to object. She's testifying to something that occurred more than 8 years, almost 8 years ago, and I don't think it has any bearing on anything before the court at this time. I certainly would object to anything that had occurred prior to the entry of the judgment of divorce, which is June of 2014.
Response, Mr. Weed?
I can lay a foundation, Your Honor. If you'd like me to, I can lay a foundation to show that it was after the entry of the judgment, because anything
that's the response. I mean, if this is after, I mean, Mr. Navarre is correct.
It is after the entry of the divorce judgment.
We'll establish that.
when Jennifer or any of these girlfriends would pick up your child at exercise parenting time, did this occur after the judgment of divorce was entered?
Yes.
And so what concerns did you have with the girlfriends?
Like I said, Jennifer was just very flamboyant about her profession, which made me uncomfortable as far as what she was like around my children. She, in general, I mean, she left her children with Justin all the time and would just go party. He would text me about that and call me about it crying. And so I didn't really feel comfortable with Lila being there. I still never denied his time with her, but it was uncomfortable. And then the following girlfriend, Sabra, she would smoke in the car with Lila in the car. And whenever I bring these concerns up to Justin, they would be dismissed. So that was also concerning. As far as Danny goes, me and Danny haven't really had any issues. So.
And Danny is
his wife currently.
So do you tell Lila that you love her?
All the time. That's her favorite phrase is I love you.
And how does she respond?
I love you too. You're my favorite mom. If I could pick, if mothers were flowers, I would still pick you. That's her favorite phrase right now.
And how do you express your affection towards all of your children?
We are a very affectionate family, so lots of cuddles. Sometimes we'll build forts in the living room, like drag a mattress out and watch movies and just cuddle and just hang out. We like to be close to each other.
Specifically, how do you express your affections towards Lila?
Lila is probably my most affectionate child. She always wants to be touching you, hugging you, holding your hand, giving you kisses, and I'm the same way, so I return that affection to her.
Has the pandemic affected this?
No, I mean, other than working the COVID unit, which was...
Mr. Weed, you need to keep your voice up. I did not hear the question.
Oh,
obviously the client did.
Yeah, I apologize. I asked if the pandemic had affected her relationship with her child.
Thank you.
I mean, just being able to come home and spend time with them was definitely difficult when I was working the COVID unit, but since I've been off that unit now.
How does she express her affections towards your husband, Christopher Murphy?
Lila's probably honestly closer to my husband than she is to me. They're best friends. He's taken her to daddy-daughter dances. They go on dates. They're very, like, they just like to be together. They have a lot of the same interests. My husband's in school for photography, and Lila is like an amazing photographer. She got a camera for Christmas this year. So they spend a lot of time together as well.
Has Justin ever taken your child to daddy-daughter dances?
No, he is not.
What interests do you share with Lila?
I also used to do photography when Justin and I were married, actually. So me and Lila like to do photography together. We like to take walks and take pictures of flowers. She's into like gymnastics. She's in a dance class right now, so I take her to those as well. Makeup, hair, movies. Trying to stay away from the boys at this point, that kind of stuff.
Do you have a bedroom routine with your children?
Yes, I do.
What is specifically, what does your bedtime routine look for Lila?
So typically she goes to bed, or starts getting ready for bed around 8 o'clock. We'll go in the bathroom, brush our teeth, wash our face. And then usually we'll grab a snack before we brush our teeth. Then we'll brush our teeth, wash our face. And then usually I'll go upstairs to her room and read a book together. So right now we started the Laura Ingalls Wilder Little House on the Prairie series. So I'll usually read that to all the girls if they're up for it.
Do the children have homework?
Yes, they do. So our schedule right now for school is we start the morning with a Bible study for about an hour. And typically my husband does that because he used to be a youth pastor and that's just kind of his wheelhouse. And so we'll do a Bible study in the morning, and then each subject we have broken up into 1 hour blocks. So language arts, math, we combine history and biology because those are like the classes they kind of breeze through. And then after their blocks of classes, whatever they don't get done within that hour is their homework after school's over. Like after they completed an hour of every single subject, whatever is left over is their homework.
And how you had stated earlier, how is but I'll refresh. I guess I'll move back. How is Lila doing at school?
She's doing great. I mean, she's very intelligent. She's always been very intelligent. She's doing fourth grade. She's at the end of her fourth grade math workbook, and she's in third grade. So she's about to move into fifth grade before the school year is even up. She's reading at a sixth to seventh grade level. She loves to write poetry. She's very into language arts, science. She really loves the Bible study aspect of it. She wants to be a worship pastor when she grows up. So I mean, she's doing really well.
So Lila has shown interest in religious services.
Yes, she has.
Besides wanting to be youth pastor, a worship pastor.
Worship pastor. Yes.
What other things has she shown to have an interest in that?
And the religious services.
Yes.
She likes to write like inspirational messages about God. Last summer, she wrote out this big long speech about God, and she printed a bunch of them out and handed them out around the neighborhood. She is very involved in her youth group. They actually just asked her if she would want to start helping teach in the little kids, like in the toddlers group, where my younger two are. She's very outspoken about her faith, and like I don't force her to be that way. Honestly, none of my other kids are as outspoken as she is. That's just who she is. She loves it.
So would you say you raise Lila? Well, let me take that, strike that. Do you have any concerns regarding the father, in this case, Justin, with regards to Lila's religion or creed?
Yes. Justin and his wife are both atheists. They both told me this. It's not a secret or a surprise. And while I support Lila in whatever she chooses religion, I definitely don't want to pressure her into anything. I am concerned because she seems afraid to share this with her dad. I've heard him outright discourage her from practicing her faith. And it's such a big part of her that I worry about how that's going to affect her with her walk with Jesus. I mean, coming from a Christian point of view, but also as a person, like not having your father support the things that you do. Like it's not hurting anybody. She's not hurting anybody. If anything, it's the opposite. She's loving people. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm concerned that this could, it could be detrimental to her. She loves it. That's who she is.
So would you say that this love that you say, is it more than just a hobby?
Yeah, I mean, it's her life. She got a guitar for Christmas. She's been writing worship songs pretty much every single day since Christmas. She's been very outspoken about her faith and into church since she was little. I mean, since she was 3.
So would you say that's part of her identity?
I would, absolutely.
So do you cook for your children?
I do.
What is Lila's favorite food?
For breakfast, she likes to have yogurt with fruit in it. And then her favorite, of all time meal is cheesy chicken, broccoli, and rice.
Do you take Lila to medical and dental appointments?
I do. Again, COVID's made it kind of hard this last year, and then not having the insurance card, but yeah.
What do you mean not having the insurance card?
So we just got Justin's insurance card again in January. So basically I've been paying out of pocket or taking her to urgent care, the emergency room, where we then get billed for stuff because we haven't been able to take her to a regular pediatrician or physician. Like a typical wellness checkup is coming out of our pockets because we haven't had his insurance card.
So how has these appointments been handled since your divorce?
I take her to all of her appointments. He's taken her to the eye doctor once that I know of. His aunt is a nurse practitioner, so I know Lila had a UTI when she was in Ohio, and he had his aunt prescribe her something. But other than that, I took her to get a flu shot too. But other than that, I take care of them.
So when's the last time you took her to the dentist?
She just saw the dentist in January. She was scheduled for December, but it got pushed because of COVID, and we had a little bit of a scare in our house regarding COVID. So she went in January, and then she had a cleaning in 2019, but I couldn't really get her in 2020.
Did the pandemic affect your ability to have her see the dentist?
Yeah, I mean, appointments were 6 months out, if that.
Now, you had mentioned the eye doctor. Does she go to an eye doctor?
I took her to an eye doctor in Marshall. The eye doctor that I took her to said she had a slight astigmatism and that she could wear glasses if she felt like her eyes were strained. Apparently, when Justin took her to the doctor, they said she needed to wear them all the time, which she has been. But she's never complained of eye pain to me whatsoever, ever, or headaches or anything. So I'm not even sure what prompted the visit to the eye doctor.
Is Lila on any medications on a consistent basis?
She just takes gummy vitamins.
Is let's see. Is Lila in therapy?
No, she's not.
Do you think she would benefit from counseling?
I absolutely do think she'd benefit from counseling. Like I said, I think she just deals with a lot of, I don't want to say abandonment because I'm not a therapist. I can't diagnose her. But I think she deals with a lot of lack of attachment issues with her dad. And then, I mean, having a blended family in general is a stressful thing for anybody, much less a 9-year-old girl, not just on our end, but also on her dad's end, like with a new marriage and new step siblings there and feeling like she's left out. Like, I think she would absolutely benefit from therapy.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
I have not.
Do you believe that you are a morally fit person to take care of and nurture Lila?
I do.
What about your former spouse, Justin Smith?
I think Justin loves Lila very much. I think he is the fun parent. I think he takes her on all kinds of adventures. She talks about the Kalahari all the time. I think that he ultimately would never want anything for her that would hurt her. But I don't think that he can provide the full-time care that I've been providing to her since our divorce, even since before our divorce, but that I do. I'm with her all the time.
Do you think that Lila is old enough or mature enough to express an opinion regarding a preference as to where she would like to live?
I do.
Why?
She's very advanced, like I said. I mean, educationally, yes, but she's very mature. She understands things that I don't even understand. She understands people's emotions. She gets people to open up and talk to her. She's literally, I mean, I love all of my kids. Lila is my pride and joy, and she's so smart. And I mean, yeah, I think she's mature enough.
Can you name 2 or 3 positive attributes of your former spouse and father of this child, Justin, that he brings to parenting Lila?
Again, I think he loves her very much. I mean, she was his first child. I know he would do anything for her. He's very fun. He takes her to do fun things. And again, I think he wants what's best for her. I don't think that he would ever want anything that would hurt her. I just don't think he knows her well enough to make those decisions by himself.
Do you help foster and encourage Lila to have a good relationship with her father?
I do. I tell her every day to call him or text him. Actually, during the pandemic, when Justin before we came to court, my husband had actually arranged every Wednesday for Justin to FaceTime Lila, like after he got out of work or before he went to work. I'm not sure exactly what his work schedule was at that point. He's changed jobs a couple times, but I think it was like 6 to 7. Like Lila would have, or my husband would have Lila go upstairs, sit in a room by herself with nobody else, so she could give Justin her undivided attention for an hour. And he did that for a little while, but again, I mean, it just wasn't consistent. But we absolutely encourage her to talk to Justin and Danny and her grandma in Georgia as much as she possibly wants, as much as she wants to and can.
Do you ever speak negatively about Lila's father in front of her?
We don't talk about the other parents in front of the kids at all, unless it's like making arrangements to meet or pick up or what they want to bring. So no.
Have you ever became aware that Justin or someone in his house is speaking negatively about you?
I have been made aware that Justin's wife may be talking badly about me regarding the custody case in front of our child. Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that. It appears to me that that would be hearsay. Unless you can lay some kind of a foundation about how she became aware of something that was said.
Without a foundation, certainly I agree with you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You can strike that from the record, Your Honor. I'll move on to the next question. Do you believe that your former spouse has helped facilitate the relationship between you and your child?
I think that while she's there, I mean, I kind of encourage her to spend time with her dad. Like, I don't really call her or text her often when she's there for weekends because she's there for such a short period of time. I just don't really think Justin has her consistently enough to like foster any kind of relationship with us because she's with us pretty much all the time.
So, have there been, upon questioning from opposing counsel, he had spoke to you about domestic violence. Did that instance involve, strike that. Have you ever been exposed to any domestic abuse by your former spouse, Justin?
Not following our divorce, no. Not after our divorce.
Have the children ever been exposed to domestic abuse by your former spouse, Justin?
Not after the divorce, no.
Have the children been exposed to any domestic abuse by your current spouse?
No.
Christopher. Okay. You had mentioned an incident that involved a car, and that it involved an open door. How were you dragged?
So I had a hold of the back door handle of the car. And my husband, it was on the back side, on the passenger side. He was driving, obviously. And so when he pulled out of the driveway, I wasn't like hugging the car or anything. I just had a hold of the door. He drove down the road and I just kind of jumped off, fell off the car. I wasn't like being drugged in an open door or like speeding down the road. I just kind of let go of the car and fell off into the grass on the side of the road.
So you weren't, the door wasn't closed on you in any way?
No, not at all.
Was the door open or closed?
It was closed. The door was locked. I was holding on to the door handle.
And you said it was on the passenger's backside?
Correct.
So would that be harder for him to see?
Yeah. We have a HHR and like there's a bunch of blind spots and it's like the worst part. To be honest with you.
Your vehicle is, what is it?
It's an HHR. It's got like massive blind spots. So it's not crazy to me that he wouldn't have been able to see me.
How has Justin's relationship been with your husband, Christopher?
Honestly, they've gotten along great. For a while there, Justin and my husband, Chris, were the ones that communicated. Even now, I mean, they're the ones that communicate, but like for a while there, they were like talking like all the time, like talking about going golfing, like friends, like not like my ex-husband. Like I honestly caused a little bit of an issue for a while because I was kind of uncomfortable with it, but they've gotten along great.
And how long have you been married to your husband?
It'll be 7 years this year.
So how does Justin speak about Christopher?
To me, he's never said anything bad about him. I mean, he's been full of praise and thanks and grateful that he's there for Lila and grateful that he's in her life. He's never said anything negatively to me or to Lila that I know of.
Do you think that Justin has helped to foster a relationship between Christopher and Lila?
Again, I don't think that I don't feel like he talks about that stuff while they're together because it's such a short period of time that I don't think that really comes up often.
How is your relationship between you and your husband now?
Honestly, 2020 was, out of 7 years of marriage, 2020 is probably the worst year I've ever had in my entire life. And I don't ever want to diminish the fact that like mistakes were made. But right now we're currently in the best position we've ever been in. We're talking about planning a wedding post-COVID. We're on a honeymoon. We want to take the kids to Disney World for Christmas if COVID died down a little bit. We're honestly in the best place we've ever been in.
So you said you were talking about marriage. You are married.
We are married. We just didn't have a wedding. We went to the courthouse.
So you want to have a
ceremony, yeah.
Okay. What have you done to help grow your relationship with your husband?
So we started doing counseling with our church in March of 2020. And then in November of 2020, well, December, I guess, the end of November after this happened, we started meeting with our pastor and his wife on top of the marriage counseling through our church. And then we started seeing a licensed marriage counselor in February virtually.
So virtually, that was online?
Yes.
And do you believe this pandemic has played into your decision making?
I mean, yeah, honestly, this is hard to admit, but like this year has been so terrible for so many reasons, and I've found myself returning to drinking, which I promised myself I would never do because I watched my dad kill himself with alcohol. I watched my uncle kill himself with alcohol, and I know in my heart and in my head that it wasn't a good idea. But I found myself really turning to alcohol to relax myself and to sleep. And clearly, alcohol impaired my judgment, and it has in more ways than one. And I don't want to blame the pandemic entirely because the pandemic doesn't cause alcoholism, but it definitely didn't help me stop drinking or not drink.
Did you seek any individual help?
Yeah, well, the counselor that we're seeing online meets with us also individually. And then I started going to AA meetings.
What is AA?
Alcoholics Anonymous.
And how often do you go to Alcoholics Anonymous?
Typically, I try to go every day, but at least 5 days a week. I do a virtual Zoom AA meeting.
And where do you do that through?
Well, so if you get online, there's like the big book, and it gives you all of the meetings where you just contact the secretary, and they'll give you the passcode. But the one that I attend like regularly every single week is one young adults group out of like California.
And have you forged any relationships out of that?
Yeah, I actually found my sponsor through that.
And where does your sponsor live?
She lives in California.
And how does she help you?
Well, since I typically am working night shifts, like on my doubles, I'm able to talk to her because she's 4 hours behind, so the time just works better. But she helps me identify my triggers. She's there when I feel like I want to drink, and she helps talk me out of it. She's helped me work through the steps, apologizing to people, admitting that I'm an alcoholic. Pretty much anything that I need. She's like a big sister to me.
And how has Alcoholics Anonymous helped you?
It's helped me identify the triggers that I feel when I want to drink. It's helped me see that not only is drinking hurting myself, but it's hurting my family. And it's helped me find different outlets, different ways to deal with those feelings than turning to alcohol, because I don't want to be my dad. I don't want to be my uncle. I don't want to be my kids without their mom because of bad decisions like that.
So do you believe that you will always need Alcoholics Anonymous?
I mean, yeah, the first thing they teach you is that once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. It doesn't go away. I mean, you can choose to not drink, but that doesn't make you not an alcoholic. It's still going to be something that you struggle with for the rest of your life. And so, I mean, I've seen that this is working for me. So I definitely think that I'll be doing this forever.
Do you think that Justin, the father here, is an alcoholic?
I think that he has struggled with alcohol. Yes, I can't label him an alcoholic. Only he can label himself.
Have you ever been intimidated by Justin, the father here, in any way?
Not since our divorce, but prior to that, yes.
So, have you sought any other kind of counseling?
So we just I meet with my pastor's wife individually, and then with my church marriage counselor individually, and then also with our licensed marriage counselor individually.
And the happenstance that was brought about, was that in November?
Yes, it was.
And how often did you drink at that point?
Pretty much whenever I had a day off. That's how I got to sleep. It's how I didn't think about stuff. It's how I just relaxed and calmed down and dealt with everything that was going on.
When's the last time you've had a drink?
That was the last time I've had anything to drink. It was November 21st of 2020, and I will not. I don't even want to touch this stuff. I don't even want to see it.
So it's had an effect on your life.
Yeah.
Do you think you're a better person today than you were then?
I mean, I don't think I'm perfect. I think I'm always going to be growing and changing and evolving, but I can clearly see it, and my husband can clearly see it. My friends and family can clearly see the difference in me now versus when I was drinking.
That's all you're.
Mr. Navarre, 4 questions. Obviously, he covered a lot more territory than you did on your examination. You have every right to cross-examine her on those issues.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Murphy, so it's your testimony that the evening that you were injured, it was November 21st of 2020.
Correct.
And do you know when you posted the things that you posted online, the photographs?
It was right after.
the
It was right after. It was right after it happened.
And what time did it happen?
I honestly don't remember. I don't think it was that late, to be honest with you. We went to a hot tub a little bit earlier in the evening, but I don't remember exactly what time it was at.
Did you post a statement that said Chris drug me down the road on the car and I'm pretty beat up?
I did.
Your Honor, objection asked and answered.
It has been asked and answered. She admitted she posted it.
Did you also post in that same posting a statement that said, please don't stay in abusive relationships?
Not that I recall. I was drunk when I posted this, honestly. I mean, it was in November.
Did you also post photographs of your the bruising on your legs?
I did, yes. It wasn't bruising. It was from the gravel on the ground. It wasn't bruising.
Abrasions then on your legs that were visible in the photographs that you posted?
Correct.
And so you testified earlier that these postings that were made the same day as the incident that occurred?
That I recall, yes. I mean, it's all very blurry.
Was it blurry when you went to Henry Ford Allegiance Health to the ER?
Honestly, I don't remember. It might have been midnight. It might have been, I honestly can't recall. I could find out. I'm sure I could call and find out when it was, but I really, truly do not remember.
Didn't you previously testify that you went the next day?
I said I didn't remember. I don't remember saying that.
Did you post a photograph of you on crutches with a brace and an air cast?
That was the following day.
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
I think it's a fair question.
That was the following day, yes, that I posted that picture.
Were you intoxicated at that point or not?
No.
And on that photograph, did it contain language that said the truth will always be the truth, even if no one believes it?
That's a quote, but yes.
Okay.
I have lots of quotes like that on my pictures. Sorry.
Have there been any other incidences between you and your husband, Chris, that have involved domestic violence?
No, I mean, we've argued, but nothing physically, no.
Have you ever transported your daughter Lila from her dad's house all the way back to your house?
No, my husband has, but I have not.
Have you refused to respond to text messages from Justin to you regarding arrangements for him to exercise parenting time with Lila?
No, typically if I don't respond, I'm at work and I'll give him a call later, or my husband will respond to him.
And so what are your work days then?
Like I said, I usually work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I usually work doubles on the days that Lila is supposed to be with Justin. So I work 16-hour shifts those days. And then on the weeks that she's here, I usually try to work an overnight shift or a couple overnight shifts during the week. And then I space those out so I can stay up during the day and sleep at night. So I'm still awake for school.
So have you refused to respond to him if he sends you a text on Thursday regarding him exercising his weekend parenting time?
I mean, the only time I never refuse to respond. I may be at work or I may be sleeping, and then typically I'll either call him or my husband will text him.
So if it's earlier in the week, you're not working, correct?
It depends on what week it is. And my schedule has just changed recently over the past couple of months. So prior to that, I was working on a COVID unit, 12-hour shifts.
So is your husband the one that's primarily working with Lila as it relates to her being schooled?
No, I am.
And so have you communicated with Mr. Smith, with Justin about her education and about her schooling?
Well, by there you mean Lila. Yes, I've talked to him on the phone. I've texted him. Prior to homeschooling, I've invited him multiple times to participate in parent-teacher conferences via phone or Zoom, and he's never shown any interest. Or, I mean, maybe there was one text message exchange where he said education is important, but that's it. That's like really the only communication he's cared to have regarding her education. I've definitely reached out to him and explained to him what's going on, but he hasn't really been interested.
Your testimony is that she's at a 4th grade level for math and 6th or 7th grade level in some other subject. What subjects is she at 6th or 7th grade level?
Reading and language arts.
And what is the curriculum that she's taking? What are her subjects that she's studying currently?
She's doing math. She's doing history and biology. Right now she's doing ancient civilizations for history. For biology right now, they're learning about the body system. I think they're working on the urinary system right now. They just finished lungs. She's doing language arts, which is like writing, that kind of stuff. Reading, which is reading, obviously. She's also doing Bible study. And then the Gather Round program that we use as well, in addition to that, that allows them to focus on like a specific subject. So like we've done United States government, we've done artists, we've done Africa, we've done South America, North American birds, but each of those individual subjects also have like, they tie it into history, they tie it into language arts, they tie it into reading.
How many hours a day is she in school?
They usually wake up around 7:30 and have breakfast. And then again, we block everything off in an hour. Anything past those hours for their subjects is what they have for homework. So it just depends on how much they get done. Typically, Lila works ahead. I mean, she's almost in a 5th grade math workbook at the end of 3rd grade.
How many hours a day is she in school?
It just depends. It varies. Anywhere from, let's see, Bible study, math, language arts, reading, history, and science. So anywhere from 5 hours on.
What time would school typically get out for her?
So 5 hours from around 8, like 1 usually, noon to 1. It just depends. Sometimes we double up lessons. Like if she's going to Justin's house for the weekend, we'll double up on lessons on Thursday. That way she can leave earlier on Friday and spend more time with him.
Do you send any of that schoolwork with her when she goes to her dad's?
She was supposed to bring her math book last time she came, but she didn't. And then she forgot it in the car, or forgot it at the house, and we left to drive and meet him. But no, I mean, he has no interest, really, truly. I mean, I know for a while his wife was printing out worksheets that she was doing there, but typically it's the weekend. So, I mean, she doesn't have school on the weekends. Like I said, we usually double up on Thursday if she's going there Friday so that she can spend time with him since it's been so inconsistent.
I have no further questions, Mr. Runner.
And do you have any further questions, Mr. Weed?
None at this time, Your Honor, no.
Okay, Mr. Navarre, is your next witness.
I would call Danny Smith, Your Honor.
Okay. Can you bring her to the computer, please?
Yes, I can.
Hello.
Good morning. Would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please, you put your hand down. State your full name, please.
Danielle Renee Smith.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Navarre.
Thank you. May I refer to you as Danny?
Yes, that is what I go by.
Your Honor, if I can at this time, can I just ensure that Justin is no longer in the room?
He is
He
not.
can be in the room. He has every right to be in the room. He's a party.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Obviously, I don't want him doing any coaching
Yeah,
for answers, but he's entitled to hear this.
yeah. Danny, would you just have your husband come back in so he can be present?
Yeah, I'll grab him.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Justin, I just wanted to advise you that you can be present. You're party to this. You can hear what your wife is going to testify to, but you can't coax her or coach her as to what she's saying or not saying. Okay. So you
Okay,
can just
absolutely.
sit and listen and observe.
Absolutely.
So Danny, how long have you and Justin been together?
About 2 years.
And how long have you been married?
We got married in November of 2020, so 6 months.
And do you have children from a prior relationship?
I do, yes. A 7-year-old daughter named Layla and a 3-year-old daughter named Nora.
And how would you describe your relationship with Justin?
We have a very loving relationship. We see eye to eye on most issues. We parent very similarly with a lot of compassion and understanding. We have a very solid relationship. We very rarely argue.
And where are you employed?
St. Mary's City Schools. I teach first grade.
And how long have you been a teacher?
This is my 8th school year.
And where did you attend college or university?
Wright State University, the Lake Campus here in Salina where we live.
And what is do you hold any degrees?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's of education in early childhood education.
And do you have any certifications?
I have a reading endorsement and a 4th and 5th grade generalist endorsement, which certifies me to teach like title reading or up to 5th grade.
And have you worked with your stepdaughter, Lila, regarding her education?
Yes, when school was shut down in March of last year, she was here for some time And then
Objection, Your Honor, this asks for hearsay.
I don't think it does. She's testifying to her personal involvement in Lila's schooling when she was there. How is that hearsay?
I think I heard, well, my internet kind of glitched. Can I just hear that question one more time? I apologize.
No problem. Could you ask the question again, Mr. Navarre?
I will, Your Honor. Have you had an opportunity to observe Lila as it relates to her education when she's in your presence?
A little bit. Last March when school shut down, she was here for some time. And then in November, my husband's grandmother passed away around Thanksgiving time, and she was with us then, and we did a little bit here.
For how long of a period of time was it that she was present in March of last year when school shut down?
I think about 2 weeks.
And did she bring any homework with her?
She did not. We were told that she didn't have anything.
Okay. So did you do anything as far as her school work? Did you go online, or did you provide her with anything
Yes, I
to
did.
assist her?
Yeah.
Pardon?
My daughter was working. I'm sorry, what?
What did you do?
Okay. I found because at that point in time she was in second grade. I found second grade material that went along with the state standards for the state of Ohio. I know that they're not identical to Michigan, but both were at one point Common Core states, so they are similar. And I figured we were doing stuff with my daughter, so anything to keep her going would be beneficial. So we did practice reading, language arts, math.
And what did you observe? What did you observe as it relates to her proficiency in math?
From my observations, Lila does not do well in math. She struggles with addition. She was struggling with elapsed time, some of the multiplication stuff. It's just not automatic that to where it should be at this point in time. And we've noticed several other things.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm just at this point. She hasn't been deemed an expert. Now she's speaking as if she is testifying as being an expert of being able to assess where this child is currently with her academic performance.
I think adequate foundation was laid for her training and experience as a teacher. I'm going to allow it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, I am certified teacher for this.
And so what were your observations as it relates to her proficiency in math?
She really struggled with elapsed time. And I know that we spent a lot of extra time on like 2-digit addition and things like that that should have been a little more automatic at that point in time, because it was designed to be review. It wasn't something that she was learning that was new. It was just review, according to the Ohio state standards.
And as it relates to the time in November of last year, what academic grades should she have been in or was in from an online standpoint, as far as what your knowledge is?
November, she should have been in third grade.
And how many weeks was she with you in November of last year?
It was about 2. I think it may have been 10 days or so.
And did you have an opportunity then to also observe her as far as her academic proficiency?
She was not sent with much. I think she had like 5 worksheets for math and half an hour of reading and half an hour of writing with no structure for each day. For I think it was 8 school calendar days, and mostly my husband did that, but he did tell me that she was having trouble with those things, that they weren't easy for her.
Well, what did you observe as far as her proficiency in her schoolwork in November of last year that you observed?
I only saw her reading in November. My husband did the math stuff with her. He would very much like to be involved more with her schooling. So I was at work.
Actually, she can't say what, there was a time to ask him that question. She can't speak for him.
That's sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. So what were your observations as it relates to her proficiency in reading in November of last year?
Lila reads very well.
Would you say that she would be at a 6th or 7th grade level?
I can't speak to that. I didn't do a running record or anything as far as that goes. I know that she reads well.
How would you describe her relationship with her dad?
They're very close. She's a very loving and snuggly little girl, and he's the same way. They'll just, hey, love you, or that sort of thing. She sits in his lap all the time. If we're watching a movie, she's in between us and the other kids, and you know, with everybody, we will play games with her, take her to do things. They have a very loving relationship. She talks to him about things that upset her or confuse her. They have a very good relationship.
Does she share her interests with him as
Yes.
it relates to extracurricular activities or art, photography?
Yes. She brought, at one point, a photography book. When she came to visit us, she has brought her camera, and we've encouraged her to take photos. And she shows us things, and she tells us about, you know, what she was doing during that point in time. So she's sharing those aspects of her life which we were not present.
How would you describe her relationship with your other two daughters, Layla and Nora?
Just like sisters, Layla and Lila have very, very similar personalities. So for a while they did butt heads, but they get along very well. Nora's 3, so she's Lila's shadow. She wants Lila to help her with everything, and Lila's an amazing big sister to her.
Would you say that they have a close and loving relationship?
Absolutely.
Does she enjoy spending time with you, with her dad, with Layla, and with Nora?
Yes, absolutely. We'll play games. The girls will go hang out in Lila's room a lot, so they just get some sister time, and they play all the time. She's very good with the littler ones.
Does she share a room with your girls?
No, she has her own room.
And do Nora and Layla share a room?
They do share a room, but we actually have a spare bedroom. They share a room because that's what's best for them. They've never been apart, so they're not ready at this point to have their own rooms.
Does she have friends that are nearby that she spends time with as well?
She does. One of my best friend, she has a daughter that is 10, so just a little bit older than Lila, and they get along very well. So Lila will have her sleep over at our house when she's here fairly often. Also, Justin's best friend has a daughter. I think she's 10 as well, and so we'll see her too.
How does your husband discipline Lila when she needs to be disciplined?
Mostly it's just a correction. I mean, she's a very well-behaved child. And when he does see something that she's done wrong, he will pull her aside so she's not, embarrassed. He'll take her in a room or whatever, and he'll talk to her and say, hey, this isn't what should have happened. Next time, let's try to do this, or make sure you're doing this. We don't spank or anything like that, if that's what you're asking.
How would you characterize Elise's willingness to facilitate parenting time between Justin and Lila?
In my experience, it's been pretty well non-existent. He will text her earlier in the week asking if she can meet, and it goes days and days and days with no response. Justin will then have to go ahead and text her husband to get a response. She has stood in the way many times. She has threatened, she did not, okay, let me back up. Elise drove to meet I don't know if it was Elise or if it was Chris, drove to meet Justin in Jackson, which is half an hour from their home. And then Justin picked her up there at a Target or something. And then when it was time for Elise to get her back.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't think a foundation was laid for her to even have had the personal experience of this. She's relying upon.
Were you present for these exchanges?
I am not present for the exchanges, but I certainly am present for the communication that is happening when she's threatening my husband.
Were you the one involved in the communications? Did you have communications?
I have seen the text messages because they are text messages.
Your Honor.
She could testify to text messages from your client. Those would be admissions. They wouldn't be hearsay.
But I just would argue, of course, that is she seeing these text messages contemporaneously with the events that which she's speaking about, or did she see this text messages later and then heard the explanation through her husband?
No,
I don't think it. Hold on. It doesn't matter to me when she saw the text messages. If she's testifying to text messages authored by your client, they wouldn't be hearsay, they would be admissions. So she can testify to those. So go ahead. Actually, let's I need to take a pause here. I had things clear up in my schedule this afternoon. I can resume this afternoon at, let's say, 2 o'clock, if that's okay with everyone.
Fine with me, Your Honor.
That should work for me, Your Honor.
All right, we'll pick it back up at 2 o'clock. Thank you.